humble.
Start writing together, you start writing songs, Finding Faith is born out of that. And so enough chit chat, let's hear some music, right?
Absolutely.
So yeah, I want you to share the story kind of behind the first song, Love Be the River.
Well, being in the desert, Tim and every preacher would preach on living in a desert. That's kind of this great analogy of faith, and
I'm
so
preaching on it this week.
it's kind of one of the things. And and looking at the Bible, it speaks about God's love in over 61 verses as God's love being a river. And I just love that analogy of being the river and how the love can be so wide and so deep and just so changing. And so this song came out of that. It's kind of got a soul feel. And yeah, we want to share it with you. It's called Love Be the River. All right. 2, 3, 4. There are days when I'm running dry, like desert plains under scorching skies. I pray to heaven, come and quench my thirst, fall like rain upon my soul. So let your love be the river, wash over me, let it fall from the mountain, from highest peaks, like the wildest waterfall crash over me. Let your love be the river, washing over me, washing over me, So take me now to your living stream, where it runs like an endless sea. Wash me clean in that river deep, where your love is all I need. So let your love be the river, wash over me, let it fall from the mountain, from highest peaks, like the wildest waterfall crashed over me. Let your love be the river, washing over me, washing over me, Carry me home, carry me, carry me, carry me to your heart, Lord, carry me home. Carry me home, carry me, carry me, carry me to your heart, Lord, carry me home. And let your love be the river, wash over me, let it fall from the mountain, from highest peaks, like the wildest waterfall crash over me. Let your love be the river, washing over me. Carry me, carry me, carry me to your heart, Lord, carry me home. Carry me, carry me, carry me to your heart, Lord, carry me home. Carry me home.
Awesome. Imagine loud applause in the world that's happening out there right now. Just
I
imagine.
never
this.
imagine loud applause. It's just one hand.
Just
clapping.
one
It's
hand,
good for me,
single
yeah.
clapping. I love it. I love it. All right, we've worked through some audio things. Again, thank you for being patient while we have been working through this. But let's talk about real fast. Not real fast, but let's talk about kind of what you guys have experienced here in Las Vegas in the last year. And last year about this time, there was a devastating tragedy that happened here. And so just wanted to kind of walk through and kind of hear from you guys what your experience was around that, being here as a part of the community and kind of what has happened. I know we heard a lot from SOS being here and kind of the beacon of hope that they were during that time, but would love to just kind of hear what your experiences were during that time.
So I was actually in Mexico on the day of the shooting. I was down there building a soccer field for an orphanage that we support. And I woke up that morning, and my phone is just blowing up with all these people from my church saying, did you hear about this? And so, of course, we turn on the news and we read about what happened. And there were a couple of us pastors down there, and we basically just said, we'll be back to finish the field. And we jumped in our car, and we came back that evening. And by the time we got back, there were just reports of, this mass shooting that had happened on the Strip at this concert. And so many of the people who attended our church were at the concert and, witnessed these horrific acts. And, there was a guy in our church whose sister was shot and was in the hospital for a long time after that. And so it was just this moment where we said as a community, like, what do we do in response to this? And how do we respond to this in a way that says there is more than hate in this world? Because it would be very easy to just jump on this idea of hatred and anger and retaliation, but instead, we believe in something more. We believe that love is stronger than hate. And so we just said, how do we respond to this as pastors, as a pastor, as musicians, as artists? I mean, I'm at a church now called Sin City Church, and the day after the shooting, one of our pastors from Sin City was down in Mandalay Bay performing a funeral for one of the victims of the shooting. And so it's something that's just affected our community. I don't think we'll ever forget it. But to see the way that the community has come together and what SOS Radio and the churches in the valley have done has just been really heartwarming. And it makes us realize, yes, that there is love in this valley that's stronger than hate.
It was a pretty confusing time too, because as believers, you kind of, I remember that day. I was about to go to the gym, and I didn't go because I was driving past my church, and we have this prayer garden, and so I just thought I just went there, and I just prayed for a bit, and then I came home, and I was talking to my wife Heather about it, and I was just in tears because I was thinking, ask the question, how would God let this happen? I couldn't imagine being those families that were directly affected by it. And we as human nature had to take the stage the next night and address the people that had come to the show, and just kind of how do we move on from that? And you process all these things, and we took the stage and just, I remember saying to the audience, that we'll have peaceful hearts if we have faith in more than us, because at these times you just have to look around at the helpers and the people that were rallying and realize that it's the love that's going to get us through, even though it's so hard at that time to think of that. That's where you go, and you just it was a really tough time. But looking at the city now, as Tim was saying, a year on, at the time it's easy to say all you need is love and all these things that we talk about. But it's so true that just seeing the way the city came together was amazing. It's the heart of the city is now bigger than it's ever been because of. It's sad that it came out of that tragedy, but it is in those moments that, we realize that there is love in us and God has put it there, and we just got to sometimes seek so deep to find it. And it's been amazing to see what our city's become out of that tragedy.
And so that kind of moved you guys to then, as you're trying to process that, you process through music, and so then you guys get together, and what comes out of that?
We were writing for the album, and we'd kind of written all the songs, but there was this idea of there is love in the moments when you're struggling. You've got to look for that love, and that's what this song speaks to. It's called "There Is Love." Simply, there is love, And now a year after, it seems to be even more relevant than it was at the time. It kind of was. It felt like a simple prayer, but an honest prayer. But now it seems to have come true. As we look at the city and look how amazing. The people have been to kind of rebound from it.
And we actually thought that the album was finished. I mean, we had pretty much written the whole album. We were done, and then because of this tragedy, this song was born out of it, and we just said this has to be on the album because it speaks to something that, first of all, is very near and dear to our heart. This idea of love, and of loving others, and despite like Andrew said, in spite of tragedy and in spite of all this stuff, that we have to know how to love each other. But then just the fact that the song itself. We liked where it was going, and we liked what was coming out of it, and we said this needs to be part of the album. So it was kind of that last one you just kind of throw in there and say, yes, we're going to do that.
Well, let's hear it.
Okay, cool. All right.
We are searching, we are seeking, but we're far from home. We are hurting, we need healing, but we're not crying out. And we pray your love will find us, how we need you now. And we all know all we need is love. Under stormy skies, stars shine above. There is love, crashing over the waves. There is light for the night, through the darkest of days. So I know we're gonna make it, won't let it break our hearts. There is love, there is love. We can all have peaceful hearts if we just have faith in more than us. We can all have peaceful hearts if we just have faith in more than us. There is love crashing over the waves. There is love through the darkest of days. There is love crashing over the waves. There is light for the night, through the darkest of days. So I know we're gonna make it, won't let it break our hearts. There is love, there is love.
Sorry, I'm trying to make up for no crowd noise in here.
That's all right.
But yeah, thank you guys for sharing that. Let's talk about musical influences. So, what did you grow up listening to? What are you listening to now? Take it from either side.
Well, I've had a huge musical influence across my career. Being in a vocal group, I listened to a lot of the old Motown and soul stuff as I was growing up. Boyz II Men were a big influence on me, and a lot of soul singers too, like George Michael, Stevie Wonder, Marvin Gaye. And moving more forward, I tend to listen to a lot of vocalists that I really love, like Adam Levine, and But as a songwriter, I also kind of go back to more. We did a cover of a Van Morrison song on the record called "If I Ever Needed Someone," and so it was kind of. I was really fascinated that he, as a non sort of Christian artist, he still wrote about his faith, and so I think that's a great thing for me, as kind of transitioning from being in human nature, but then writing his songs about my faith, and it was kind of cool to see that other artists have done that across all time. Bob Dylan and even U2, Bono, kind of the lyrics are drawn out of often out of his faith as well. So and never. I mean, one of my favorite Christian artists is Chris Tomlin, just as a songwriter and a man who can express his faith so beautifully through songs. And but that's kind of been my transition from more just non-Christian music into Christian music.
So I, as a Canadian, I was introduced to some great like Rush and which of course I'm not Rush guitar player, but just some great stuff like that. Bryan Adams. Growing up, I mean, I loved listening to stuff like Toto. I mean, just the harmonies and everything like that. And was hugely influenced as a songwriter by people like Prince, who and as an entertainer, just the fantastic way that they could entertain and write songs. And I was just always jealous that he could play so many instruments. And people like Peter Gabriel and Sting, just the trajectory of their careers, and to see them morph from one style into another. And then as I became a believer, and I just started finding all these great Christian bands and started listening to them. And right now, it's funny, I have a 22-year-old daughter, and she she keeps sending me songs and bands and keeps introducing me to stuff. And so thanks to her, I mean, I've really just fallen in love with like 10th Avenue North and some of the stuff that they're writing. And like Andrew said, Chris Tomlin, Hillsong, just some great bands like that I just love listening to. And
Yeah. I love it. All right. Now, you've got, we have the single Good Hands that's out at radio right now. And tell us a little bit about the story behind that and kind of what inspired that.
Well, Good Hands was a song that we, Tim and I were writing separately, and didn't realize it at the time. I was writing a song. I'd heard the old, what's his name, the guy that did Lean on Me, Bill Withers. I heard Bill Withers' song Grandma's Hands, and it's a great soul song. And I just thought of that idea of hands, that visual image of hands. And so I started writing a song about God's hands and, how we are always in that. And, I from a personal point of view, I've been through a lot of ups and downs in my life personally, and kind of look at decisions I've made that I'm not proud of. But, I kind of realize even in those moments, I've always been in God's hands. He's kind of carried me through the bad times and lifted me up. And so I wanted to write about that. And I was told Tim we had started writing this song called Good Hands. And then it was just, I thought it was a chorus that I'd written. So I was really
and he had
gunning for
actually,
that.
we had gotten together and he had played me, what he was working on. And I wasn't sure if it was a chorus. I was listening and kind of trying to figure that out. And I was in the middle of a transition at work where I was leaving the church where we met, and wasn't sure what was next in my life. And that's always an interesting time in life where you're not sure, like, how am I going to pay my mortgage? And I've got 3 kids in university, and 2 of my kids are visually impaired, and so just wondering, like, how am I going to just all the stress and stuff that happens in life. And I was driving home one night, and it was I remember exactly where I was, on what street I was, under what street lamp I was, where these lyrics just kind of downloaded into my head. And it was, the hands that hold the world hold my heart, and the hands that heal the world heal my heart. Because my heart wasn't in a good place. It was just, I wasn't, in a very good place. And I pulled over to the side of the road, and I wrote them down so I didn't forget them. And the next time Andrew and I were together, we were actually on the phone with a guy from Hillsong, a songwriter by the name of Dean Usher. And I said, hey, I've got these lyrics that I just can't get out of my head. And Dean said, I can't wait to write that song with you guys when I get to Vegas. And so we sat down together when he got into town, and those lyrics became the chorus of this song, and what Andrew was writing became the verse of this song. And so it was just a very kind of personal song for both of us, as we realize that no matter what we go through in life, no matter what we're feeling, that if we allow God's hands to hold our hearts, we're going to make it through.
That's awesome. Well, share with us the song Good Hands.
We're in good hands with Greg on percussion. No pressure. All right, this is Good Hands.
I never walk alone, 'cause I'm in good hands, and by faith I know I'm in the Master's plan. I'm just a wretch now saved, but a mess made clean. Baby, a broken man, but I'm in good hands, and the hands that hold the world hold my heart, and the hands that heal the world heal my heart. There's never been a heart that you can't change. There's never been a life that you can't save. 'Cause the hands that hold it all
All right. Well, guys, thank you so much for sharing today, sharing a couple songs and getting to know them better. I hope you guys have enjoyed. Those
Thank
of you
you.
that are watching at home,
Sorry for the hiccups.
yes, appreciate your grace.
And the jet lag.
Jet lag wasn't nearly as bad as the hiccups. I gotta tell you.
But tell us, guys, where can we see you next?
So you can actually catch us next week at Momentum.
That's
Yes.
right.
Yep.
Coming to you all the way from Las Vegas to Orlando. These guys will be with us
Awesome. Looking
next
forward to
week
that.
at Momentum. So make sure you connect with them and say hello. Guys, any last thing that you would like to say?
No, just we're just super excited. I never dreamed this would happen. You know, to be with Provident releasing music that we wrote about our faith. It's kind of amazing. And to have a song at radio is really, really. I've been doing it all my life, in my career, but this kind of just feels so special to be have this moment. So it's and be sharing it with Tim. It's awesome.
Yeah. The friendship that we have began long before we started writing songs together. And it's a friendship that'll go for long after we're finished writing songs, if that ever happens. I don't know. That may never happen.
I hope not.
I hope not. But it's great to find someone that you connect with and that you share a similar faith journey with, and just so happens that we're both musicians, and so it's a very cool thing, and I'm very blessed to have Andrew in my life, and it's great. I
Yeah.
think I make his songs better. I think he makes my songs better. So.
Well, major thanks to Greg
Thanks,
for
Greg.
being here,
Yeah,
for
thanks,
playing this
Greg.
morning.
Woo!
Want to give a shout out to Lewis here at the Hideout in Las Vegas, and then our video team that's been working behind the scenes to get this live stream going. And thank you guys for tuning in today.
Please, yes.
Good hands going for ads now, and we'll see you at Momentum if you're there. If you're not there, we will talk to you very soon on the phones. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks,
Have a good
everyone.
one.
Thank you.